Hey guys, welcome back to the Pizza Story podcast. I have a really special guest. I'm super excited. It's actually Tony Scardino and AKA Professor Pizza. So, Tony, thank you so much for being on my podcast. I'm honored to have you as a guest. And I just want to hear your whole story, like how you started in pizza to everything that you've done.
For sure. Well, first off, I want to say I'm thrilled to be on. I appreciate it. It's nice to meet you. Yeah, so starting from the very beginning, I usually tell people that I grew up in an Italian American household where food was very central in everything that we did as a family. It was a cornerstone of our hospitality, even just with the functions throughout the home and throughout my childhood. And as I've grown up, I've seen, it's not uncommon to certainly have food at a party or a get together, but Italians and Italian Americans tend to take it to another level, as I'm sure a lot of other folks do too. But it's something I've noticed over time, and uh, yeah, it was just this kind of unifying factor that we always had, and that we were always particularly good at because restaurants, hospitality, catering, food and beverage just at large was always a part of what my family did for a living, right? Um, I had grandparents with corner stores and pizzerias and outright full dining scenarios as well. And most of that was kind of in the past by the time I came around,
Mm-hmm.
with the exception of my uncle having a spot up in kind of southern Wisconsin, just over the Illinois Wisconsin border, called Mandino's, which was kind of a combination of his Greek last name Mantis, our Italian last name Scardino, and it's kind of a uh, hot dog gyro focused greasy spoon that would have just that hot dogs, gyros, Italian beefs, things of that nature that lent to his Greek American background, our Italian American background. And that was one of the first places that I got a chance to cook in, where even he had a spot over the summer, or over many summers, right, outside of the entrance of the beach at Lake Geneva, where it was a much smaller American Legion canteen that he would just do kind of an express version of the larger restaurant. And while I was up there with my family, maybe to go to the beach, I never wanted to go down to the beach. I wanted to hang out with him and stand on a milk crate and fill sodas and refill chip displays and whatever I could get my hands on. So I was kind of doing that from an early age. When it came time to go to college, I didn't think I was going to get into this. I went to Columbia in Chicago for about a year and change for music business, because
Mm-hmm.
at that stage I was already DJing, bar and bat mitzvahs and local parties and things of that nature, and kind of thought that that was going to be my path until I realized, you know what, this is really far more of a hobby than it is something I'm passionate enough to move forward in and delve into the parts of the industry that are less fun. But
Yeah.
every industry has those parts, and if you love it enough, you put up with the less fun stuff. For me, it wasn't a pull enough for me to do so, and so I had an opportunity to start working in restaurants. I worked in a variety of different restaurants all throughout Chicago. Um, and the surrounding suburbs. And some of those initial restaurants were more pizza focused.
Mm-hmm.
And it was there that I was able to really hone in on more of a specialty and something that I was really primarily interested in, more than just food at large. And that was, of course, pizza. So started working in some kind of Neapolitan focused pizzerias, and getting to work on some wood fired ovens and understand the pizza world from that perspective at first. And then as time went on, I worked in a variety of different restaurants, took a break for a moment, and actually wanted to reinvest. But uh, took the time to go to a culinary program called Inspiration Kitchens.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a soul food restaurant that was open to the public, but also um, a scenario where the cooks at that restaurant were the students of the culinary program that I was going through. And so this gave me an opportunity to start staging or interning in restaurants and widening my perspective of what was out there. And so that gave me an opportunity to work in a lot of non pizza and in a lot of non Italian or Italian American settings
Hmm.
that all just serve to kind of expand my culinary knowledge and perspective that I like to think over the years has lent a little bit more knowledge to my pizza making abilities.
I had a very similar upbringing to you, very Italian
Okay, I
family.
can see that from the last name.
My
Very cool.
grandfather immigrated from Abruzzo, and he opened a pizzeria in 1960. It's still open today.
Very cool.
Yeah.
One of the restaurants I worked on early on was called Abruzzo. So
Oh, nice. That's
I
good.
can't say they were doing cuisine from that region. They were doing, chicken parms and cracker thin pizzas, but that's what it was called nonetheless.
Nice.
So, yeah, it had a variety. It had an opportunity to start staging and interning at different restaurants throughout the city,
Yeah.
and certainly feel like pulling from all that different cuisine and all those different settings lent to better pizza making in the long run. Um, and eventually decided, you know what? If the goal is to open up a pizzeria of my own, I should probably just stick with working at pizzerias from here on out.
Yeah.
I ended up managing a spot called Dobro's after working at a variety of other pizzerias, including like Polly G's Logan Square, Coal Fire, some Neapolitan ones that no longer exist, Italy, but eventually ended up at Dobro's, which is a New York style by the slice pizzeria, stayed in Kinsey that still exists to this day.
Hmm.
And this gave me my first opportunity to be in a real slice shop, to really start opening up 20-inch pies and filling a slice case and working a very late night service. In those days, up till 4 a.m. on weekends, 2 a.m. the rest of the week, right?
Hmm.
And just getting that crash course on all things New York style pizza. But at this time, I guess I'm skipping a step. I had already come back from San Francisco, where I had the chance to study under Tony Gemignani, a 13-time world pizza champion.
Yep.
It was at my time in San Francisco that I was exposed to so many different styles of pizza. See, I went out there with the intent of opening up a Sicilian style pizzeria. And to this day, like, there's so many different pizzerias that offer Sicilian style. I don't know of too many where, like, that's all they did. But that's what I had in mind at the time. Until, of course, I met Tony, who's known for doing, you know, damn, like maybe like 17 different styles or something at this point, spanning a variety of different locations and concepts. But it became obvious to me at that point that like I had so much joy making all these different styles of pizza, and I now could not imagine just doing one style. So with that, I came back home and started to focus in on a few of those pan styles, Sicilian, Grandma, Detroit being at kind of the top of that list, and
Hmm.
starting to offer some of those styles in the slice case at Dobro's. And we built it out, and it's something that people really started going there for. And then before you know it, or before you know it, I was ready to kind of move on and open up a concept of my own. And I found a partner that was willing to back that with me. And this was an era that was very food hall focused. And
Yeah.
so we were going to open up a slice shop within a pre existing food hall. And then before you know it, we were hit with the pandemic. And all of those plans were kind of derailed. And we were forced to press pause on that concept and kind of reevaluate what those next steps were going to be.
Hmm.
And this was the first time in my adult life where, I had the choice to stay at Dobro's in a diminished capacity, but I also had the choice to say, you know what? I'm going to do what most of America's doing. I'm going to go home. I'm going to collect that government check and just figure out what my next move was. And certainly I took enough of those government checks and just wasted that money. But luckily, I took the vast majority of them and reinvested them into pizza ingredients and started making pizza out of my then garden apartment in the city, where I would just post on Facebook saying, "Hey, this is what I'm doing." In the early days, I didn't even have prices. It was like This is what I'm doing. If you feel like supporting, I appreciate your support. Pay what you think it's worth.
Wow.
And if you don't have the money, I'm still gonna make you a pizza, and we're all in this thing together. Um,
Nice.
we eventually brought a little bit more structure to it as a means of keeping it going. I brought some friends on that helped me. Stamp and box stamp and fold pizza boxes. I had a ragtag group of friends that were kind of delivering the pizza with no insurance, no this, that, or the other necessary for a true delivery brigade. But in those days, people were turning a blind eye to everything in hopes that you just figured out a way to pay your bills without either defaulting on them or totally relying on the government. And so it was working for me. People
Mhm.
were being super benevolent in their spending towards restaurants,
Mhm.
and I to this day I am super grateful for it because it was the basis for what I have now. Eventually, though, I knew I needed to get out of that apartment because that benevolence and that benevolence of the government in terms of willing to look the other direction was quickly fading, and I was going to be in real trouble if I got, any sort of city official at my apartment.
Yeah.
So luckily, we dodged that bullet. We got out of there. We bounced around a little until I linked up with a former consulting client of mine. Because at this stage of my career, I was doing very, very minimal pizzeria consulting here and there. Uh, Either way, he reached out to me. He had a sports bar in Wrigleyville, stone's throw away from where the Cubs play, that had been closed since like the previous St. Patty's when the whole world shut down. And he's like, "Look, I'm looking to get this place back open. There's some stipulations from the local government or from the city in terms of what I have to provide for to be back open." And
Mhm.
one of those main things was the availability of food, whether it was him selling food or allowing for patrons to bring in outside food. There had to be the ability for food consumption within his bar. And so he said to me, "Look, you're running this pop up and selling your pizzas through this online platform. You're good to use my kitchen to do that. All I ask is that you put together a small slice-based menu for my bar patrons, so that I can be open in my own right." And for 2 years, I hung out there until attracting one of my current partners, Grant, who got me out of that bar and got me into my first ghost kitchen scenario in the Humboldt Park neighborhood of Chicago.
Mhm.
Spent a year there just doing carry out and delivery exclusively and getting our name out through those means. And for those that have gone through the ghost kitchen experience, they probably know firsthand, as I found out, it's a difficult model to make money in, and they kind of set it up under this auspices of being a lower barrier of entries or lower barrier of entry, I should say, for up and coming chefs to kind of get their concept off the ground, and maybe relative to signing a lease in a full scale brick and mortar and having a front of house staff and a liquor license and all the trappings of a full scale restaurant, it is a lower barrier of entry. But when you consider what you're getting for what you're paying and what your uh, output from that space could potentially be, it it actually is kind of a pretty cost prohibitive model. And so by the time we got out of that space, we're paying nearly $6,000 in rent for two, not even adjoined, but two side by side shoebox style kitchens
Wow.
and some rented shelf space within a much larger walk-in, um, communal walk-in. And so obviously we had to get out of there. We were looking for what was next for us. We had an opportunity to get into kind of a beer garden space that was part of this larger bar that was made of all these adjoined reclaimed shipping containers. There was a previous pizzeria in that shipping container that they had kind of uh, turned into a stationary food truck, if you will.
Mhm.
And we signed a lease there. However, without getting into too much of the details, the master landlord never approved it because they felt that the highest and best use for that property was no longer what it was, which was a bar restaurant, and that they should go a different direction with it. So that put us in a situation where we had to continue to pay our employees. It was a small group of them, but still it all added up for a very small business, for 4 months where we weren't making any pizza or any profits whatsoever.
Wow.
Eventually, that restaurant group said to us, well, we do have this space right up the hill from here in the West Loop, and we had a different concept in mind for it. But if you'd like to go into it, we're willing to forego that other concept in favor of Professor Pizza. And what that concept was a seasonal rooftop that sat 275, standing room for for 400, uh cabanas, DJ booth, full bar, all of that. Truly a vibe in the summer.
Yeah.
um However, in the non-weather cooperating months of the year, which are many in Chicago,
Yeah.
there's no indoor seating. So half the year we had a tremendous amount of outdoor seating. Half the year we had literally no seating whatsoever. Half the year we had carry out and delivery. Half the year, because the rooftop was so busy and the kitchen was so small, and all we had was a series of reach-in coolers and no walk-in cooler, we just had dine in and no carry on delivery. So over the course of 2 years, it kind of kept us in the game, but it proved to be a very difficult model again for us to be profitable in.
Yeah.
Now, in that time, over the course of that second year there, we opened up a full scale pizzeria with 130 seats, a bar that we actually retained the profits from, front of house staff, off a gorgeous corner in an incredible neighborhood, Old Town. We're at Wells and North Avenue, attached
Mhm.
to the famous Second City, stone's throw away from Zany's Comedy Club.
Yeah.
Comedy is a huge, love of mine. It's something I've integrated into my business marketing over the years. But anyways, April 11th, I'm not sure when this comes out, but April 11th, we'll celebrate a year in that space being open. Uh, that's been great for us, but we're also kind of digging ourselves out of the hole of the previous concept. And it's a very big space to fill and to make profitable. So over the course of that year, I think we've done a great job and made a lot of headway towards that goal, but it's an ongoing one. In
Yeah.
the past 2 weeks, we have gotten out of the former rooftop space in the West Loop.
Mhm.
We've signed a lease in West Town, Noble Square neighborhood of the city. Kind of has different names depending upon who you're talking to. Um, but that space will be a full scale operation, much smaller dining room of about 30, 40 seats, um, kind of anchored by a slice concept and a slice counter, not unlike what you'd see in New York or on the East Coast.
Mhm.
So that's something that I'm super excited about. That's going to have a staged opening or tiered out opening, if you will,
Mhm.
starting with carry out and delivery, hopefully within this month of April.
Wow.
And hopefully just totally rocking and rolling by like early summer.
Okay.
That kind of brings us current day.
Wow, that's an
Yeah.
incredible story. It sounds like you really made pizza work in the most challenging of circumstances.
They're still challenging, like I would say if we had just skipped a lot of these steps and opened up a humble slice shop, we'd be a much more profitable business by now. But I'm sure you got a lot of listeners on this podcast that are not strangers to the industry, and know that we only post our wins to Instagram.
Yeah.
But the reality is you can be um, a pretty beloved business in your local demographic and still be in a stage where you're trying to figure it all out. And that's where we are.
Yeah.
We're still trying to make the numbers work for us. we're on track to that more now than ever before. And I'm hopeful for the future, but it's a process, and you can have two spots and still be very paycheck to paycheck, and that's where I'm at in life right now. But I don't mind the grind, and I've got two wonderful kids that don't go without anything they need in this life. So until then, we're gonna figure it out.
Absolutely, I love it. So tell
Yeah,
me the thing that you love the most about making pizza.
yeah. I think it's similar to why I have an affinity for comedians and what they get out of comedy. There's a lot of instant gratification when you can walk throughout your dining room and see people enjoying your pizza in the moment, and they pay you a compliment. I heard somewhere along the lines, I don't make a lot of money, but I do make a lot of compliments, and I'm lucky to have the compliments I have in life.
Mhm.
And people seem to be pretty excited and energized about the pizza that we're making. And I don't want to say it makes it all worth it, but it makes quite a large deal of it worth it. To just see people that really identify with what you're most passionate about in this life. So yeah, I just like to see happy faces
Yeah.
and full mouths.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And
Yeah,
then tell me a little bit about the Pizza Expo because you're so well known and you've studied under some really amazing people and you're a pizza champion yourself. And I just want to get a little bit from you on that experience.
for sure. So some years ago, I had the benefit and great honor of being inducted into this team that is a brother and sisterhood globally of pizzeria operators and kind of pizza adjacent professionals, I'll say, in some cases. And this organization bands together their collective resources, knowledge, buying power to help prop up all of our businesses. We also have a philanthropic arm to what we do as well, and we use pizza as a vehicle to make a positive difference in the world. And we've partnered with a variety of different organizations from Slice Out Hunger to Make a Wish Foundation to the John Arena Foundation to do some really cool things with pizza. Uh, and I got inducted onto that team by Tony Gemignani, and I feel like I was somewhat on on a track to do that by, how do I say this? You can go to his team and you can go to his school and not be inducted on the team. But if you go to his school, for him, it's first off, he's so busy now, he doesn't even have the school anymore. So I really got in during a pretty amazing time. But he's not a guy that had the school even for one moment as a means of just another form of income. He really deeply, on a religious level, cares about pizza, and he's very particular about who he accepts into the school in the first place,
Mhm.
in the days in which he had it, because there were only so many slots and so many hours in the day for him to devote his attention to that. And so the people that go through it, he has a special interest in their success, and eh, it became, and I'm very thankful for this, but it became clear to him over time, after going to Pizza Expo for several years and waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning to be at the Expo Center by 6 to help him with his demos, that I was in this. I wasn't new to this. I was true to this, and he, along with the other members of the team at that time, inducted me onto the team, and that forever will be one of the greatest moments of my life. Um, I have since had the opportunity to continue to compete with the team in Vegas, in Atlantic City when they were still holding that event. It looks like it's moving to Ohio now.
Yeah.
Um, and just give it my best from year to year. That brings us up to this year, where there were a lot of firsts for me. This was my first year judging a competition. This is my first year being on the board of directors as head of sponsorship for the World Pizza Champions. This is my first year, or maybe second year, doing a variety of different demos. One for Hormel Fontanini, one for the folks at Pizza Master, where I'm actually a brand ambassador for that oven company. Um, but it was for sure the first year I competed as well as I did. It was the first year I competed in the division I did, which was best cheese slice. And in the initial round, the preliminary round, I took second for best cheese slice. When you go up in the finals against the folks that won their other divisions, I placed maybe fourth or fifth overall worldwide for best cheese slice. When you break it down to regions, in the Mid American region, I got first place for best cheese slice in Mid America. So that's the plaque that I've been taking those pictures with, and that I'm proud to display in my pizzeria. And absolutely a first for me, and absolutely something that I owe a great deal of credit to. Just a lot of people for getting me this far. The folks on the World Pizza Champions, Tony Gemignani, my cousin Michael Mantis, who's the backbone of my marketing for Professor Pizza, and so much more than that, actually. Um, my chefs that, hold it down for me while I'm out there following my dream. I want to shout out my guy Izzy Perez, who's been cooking with me since the very beginning of just like Professor Pizza pop-ups, who helped me develop the dough that I ultimately competed with. I've got two kids, and when you go off to Vegas, you don't bring your kids with you. So I got to thank their mothers too for also taking on more than they already take on a daily basis to help me hopefully not just go after my own dreams, but prove to our children that you can really go as far as you want to in this lifetime, so long as you're willing to put in the hard work and dedication. And yeah, I owe a lot to a lot of people, and I just try and wake up every day with the intent to make all those people proud, and just move pizza and this brand forward. So I'm excited to have the opportunity to do so. And Vegas was kind of a microcosm of that this year. So I'm definitely still riding that high.
That's incredible. Congratulations. I've been following it and it's just I love to see it. It's just absolutely like amazing to me.
I
Um,
appreciate that.
so you've been in the game a long time. So what advice would you give to someone who wants to get into the pizza game?
Um, I think it's one of the same, whether you're talking about the pizza game or the restaurant game at large, food and hospitality at large. Like, you better really love it, because there is an overwhelming chance that you never make any real money in this world. Um, I think I'm on track to do all right for myself, but I say that as somebody who still has hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt that he has to work his way through. Um, I say to myself, like, look, if you're not able to have fun when you're not making money in this industry, it's not for you,
Yeah.
because that might be most of your experience. It's been all of my experience thus far. I've got two locations and I'm paycheck to paycheck, and it's not, a cry for help. We're not, putting up any links for donations or anything, but that's not unique to me or to my story. That's what a lot of us are going through. And whether you look at the political or economic climate at large, like, it's what a lot of people are going through even outside of this industry. So
Yeah.
let this be let the passion you have for what you do be your north star. Don't allow money or notoriety or fame or anything else to be that north star, because you'll be taken astray if so. So just make sure you absolutely love it. Because yeah, it's a lot. It's
Yeah.
a lot all the time.
I love that's a great
Yeah,
message. That's like a perfect
yeah,
message for I think anyone that wants to be in the industry.
for
Now,
sure.
where's the best place for people to find you?
For sure, my Instagram.
Yeah.
If you go to my Instagram, which is Professor Pizza, you're going to be able to stay up to date with everything going on in my professional life. And as far as our pizzerias are concerned, I'm thrilled to again announce that we're going to be opening up our first slice shop in the coming months. With knock on wood that will at least be open in a carry out and delivery capacity within this month of April.
Okay.
And yeah, exciting things coming all the time.
Absolutely. Guys, go and follow him at Professor Pizza on Instagram. Check out his slice shop when it opens. Go eat the pizza. Visit. This is incredible. The food's incredible. Thank you so much, Tony, for being on the podcast. I really enjoyed talking with you.
Thanks for shining some light on my story. I really appreciate you, Erica.
Absolutely. Have a great day.
You too.